Thanks everyone for joining. Welcome back to SaaS Connect Online. I'm your host, Swaroop Kali, founder and CEO of Pronto. And for folks who don't know Pronto, Pronto is a partner operations management platform, which falls under sort of the broader ecosystem management tools. And when we think about the value that Pronto delivers, we always think about it in three ways. One is it helps accelerate indirect revenue and helps you actually manage and measure it much better. Number two is it brings immense productivity gains to the partner operations teams. And number three is it brings seamless digital experiences to both partner managers and that of your partners as well. Our guest today is John McCabe, VP of Worldwide Channels and Alliances at Safeguard Cyber. Who will talk to us about building a 100% channel sales program in SaaS. We'll allow him to introduce himself fully in a moment, but before that, to quickly run through some housekeeping items. As a reminder, we'll try to answer your questions throughout the talk, so fire away in the Q&A section below. Also, come join the Cloud Software Association at cloudsoftwareassociation.com. And don't forget to check out some of our fall events, including the SaaS Connect UK, which is being held in London on the 17th of November. All right, so let's get this going. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I'm going to pop up a slide just to give you guys an idea of what we do here. But thank you for having me today. John McCabe. I am the Vice President of Worldwide Channel Sales and Alliances for Safeguard Cyber. Safeguard Cyber is a platform that protects business communications. We do that through a detection engine that we call Natural Language Understanding, or NLU. And what we do is we are focused on not just business communications regarding email, but business communications that extend out of email into Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, Telegram, Zoom, LinkedIn, Salesforce.com, and up to 30 different multi-channel communication applications that are used today. What we saw was at least almost 50% of business communications today are done outside of email. And, unfortunately, the human element of business communications, the human employee will click on something bad and not know, and causes havoc. Look at what happened in Uber. They were attacked through Slack. So we're out there protecting those types of applications. And what NLU gives you is, a unified visibility into all those multi-channel communications. We look at contextual analysis so we can understand malicious language, malicious links, spoofing of executives, and we do that through cross-channel detection. So no matter what channel you're communicating in, we will be able to understand patterns and sniff out malicious content. If anybody has any further questions around what we do, I'd be happy to help and follow up with you afterwards. But we are very unique in a category. There's no one that's competing with us right now. We've created our own category called Integrated Cloud Communications Security. And I like to term it as email on steroids. We're extending out of the email communication method to multi-channels. I'll stop sharing right there.
Cool. Thanks, John, for that introduction. So, look, you and I talked about this topic at length. And, today, if you think about it, everything or most of it is SaaS, right?
Yep.
And channel was always associated sort of in the on-prem days. And as more and more companies and products started moving into the world of SaaS, there was always this question about, is channel going to fade out? But, we have actually seen a significant surge in interest.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about your experience, the domain that you're operating in, which is cybersecurity, how is the security industry positioning itself in the channel to differentiate itself to sell faster, better, and obviously to drive more revenue?
That's a great question. And, you and I have talked about this in the past, like in cybersecurity, there's been an explosion of technologies that hit the market every day. I was talking to Jay McBain in August at an event, and he said, in my space, there's over 2,200 cybersecurity technologies out there. And when you're a startup and you're trying to get mind share from not just customers, but from partners, you got to figure out what to do to create revenue, create pipeline. I've seen over the past 5 years that startups are turning to channel more and more because they realize it's a much more efficient way to build out a sales force, get mind share, extend your pipeline, and basically be able to transact faster. And it's amazing. 5 years ago, channel was not at the top of everybody's mind in terms of cybersecurity sales, but with budgets and investment being limited in some cases, you've got to make the most out of what you have to spend, right? And with channel, it's a way to extend your sales force without having to pay salaries. It's a way to become a trusted advisor, or work with a trusted advisor, I should say, with a client base that you have no access to. And it's a way for you to exponentially grow your opportunities and your sales force. So I've seen this over the past 5 years that startups are looking to channel more and more, and there's more channel executive positions that are open than ever before.
That's interesting. So, but if you start adding, sort of the turbulent times that we are in, right, with the macro conditions, and we can always debate about whether we are already in recession, or is the recession going to come, or is it never going to come, right? We can always debate about that. But if you think about the current macroeconomic conditions, how is this motion changing, or how is it impacting or accelerating this more adoption to channel?
So again, going back to the idea that a startup is working on a limited budget. I mean, they might be in seed round, they might be in Series A, and they're not, they don't have a lot of money to spend on overall sales and operations, right? So they're going to do what they need to do to maximize every dollar that they're spending, right? What I'm seeing, there's a demand for channel, but the staffing of the channel is limited, right? They'll make do with one person who can manage all of the global or all of the alliance channel partnerships, and they expect that role to go out and grow the sales force through the channel, right? It's just a matter of trying to figure out the best way to grow pipeline and make your investors happy and give a return to the investors. And that's why I think channel has become such a relevant and important part of startups, because again, they see the ability to grow your channels or your sales force without having to build a full team of sales reps that you have to pay and pay them commissions, holiday pay, vacation, whatever, and they are able to grow their pipeline that way.
Got it. So you're saying that the move towards channel is more and more accelerating, especially in the world that you see, which is in the sort of the early stage companies, because it helps reduce the cost and accelerates both customer acquisition and revenue generation, right?
Correct. And I see, like, now that we're all pretty close to recession, companies are peeling back hiring. It's becoming more and more difficult to cover every region as a startup from a sales perspective. But what you see is the channel partners, they're doing really well. They're selling, their margins are great, they're healthy, right? And you don't see the retraction in sales force at the channel partner side. You see it on the vendor side, right? So it's important that channel is respected in that regard, that it can help you kind of maneuver through this really, really difficult time. There's news of layoffs in my space every day. And it's a combination of, overinvestment, overvaluation, and not enough sales. And you got to do something. You got to, take action somewhere. And the smart move is to focus on channel, helping you grow that revenue to, improve on your investors, or on the investment, I should say.
Got it. So, and you have done this multiple times. You've done this at a time where I think we were in, I won't say the best of the economic times because it could have been a little overvalued and there was probably a lot of frothy, it was a frothy market. But
Yeah.
you've done this when economy was very realistic, when economy was frothy.
Hmm.
Now, as we are heading into a downturn, if we haven't already, like you've done this multiple times, you have scaled not one, but four companies
Yep.
and help them move to become 100% channel sales organization, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Why don't you take us to that journey and like, why did you decide to pursue it?
Yeah, so great question. So I worked at a fairly large and name brand cybersecurity company, and their approach to channel was they were ambivalent, right? It was a necessary evil. The CEO did not believe in channel, and it was difficult to sell with partners because they knew our company had a reputation of taking deals direct and disrespecting channel. And I was frustrated because I really believe in channel. I've been in direct sales and I've utilized channel partners over my entire career, and they've helped me be the best rep I could ever be and make a lot of money, right? So it bothered me. And I talked to some of the partners I was very close with. I'm like, hey, what's the secret? What is it that makes you want to do more with us? And the first thing they said was, if you were 100% channel or you had like a comp neutral, compensation plan, it would be a game changer for you. And I thought, yeah, that's pretty interesting, but it'll never happen here. I got a chance to go to a smaller startup to run channels, and the first thing I did was get executive sponsorship to allow me to go 100% channel. And what that meant was every deal we did went through a partner. If we got a lead, we immediately went and looked for a partner that had a relationship there or wanted to become part of that opportunity, and they went the entire journey with us. It was, it wasn't easy. I did have a CEO and our SVP of sales behind it. Reps are tough. Reps don't want to share revenue. I get that. But as they started to see more and more pipeline filling up for them, they were believers, right? So I kind of listened to what the partners were telling me. I always want to be better at what I'm doing. I always want to learn and do the best I possibly can. And that advice just really was jarring for me. And I went and built the program out, and we saw a exponential increase in pipeline. We had relationships throughout the whole country, not just in one area where we were headquartered and focused. We started to reach out globally to partners. And it worked, right? It was a positive influence. And over time, I've just replicated that. I've actually worked for two companies where the executives were already kind of in that mindset. I came in and just kind of improved on what they had. My last company, the CEO built his organization or a sales organization on partners. He had no one except himself and a couple operational people and some developers. He used two of the biggest cybersecurity partners in the industry as his sales channel. And he built services with them. And it just really exponentially helped grow his opportunities. But he wasn't 100% channel in that regard. They did deals direct if they had to. I came in, turned them around to 100% channel, and we increased our pipeline deal registration by over 200% in less than 6 months.
Wow.
We put in about almost $2 million in net revenue pipeline. And our reps were just completely on board with it. They saw how great it was to work with channel and how much once you started giving them something, they brought it back, right? One other thing to keep in mind is we had services built with these partners, which is really important. Like if you're trying to do something with partners, don't have a service that you provide on your own. Go to a partner. It'll save you a lot of money, and they really appreciate that because they have service number that they have to meet, and you help fill that gap for them. But it's something that you really have to be focused on. Now, at my last company, we also did something that's really not the norm, and you really have to have the stomach to do it. We actually gave up on cold call prospecting to clients and prospects. Instead, we had our reps cold call and prospect all of our partner reps. And it was a little tough for reps to turn around and do that, but it was amazing how it just turned everything around. And we saw that increase in pipeline. Now, our CEO hated being cold called, so he was really behind that. He's like, I hate that. So we were able to do it. We lost a few reps along the road because they wanted to do something, they liked cold calling. They liked that aspect of sales, but it really did accelerate what we were doing. And our reputation within the partner world for cybersecurity, it elevated us up, to the top. And whenever we did events, our reps were, at our booth. They loved us. We had great conversations with them. It was just a very symbiotic relationship because of that.
That's actually fascinating. Being an early stage company ourselves, if we had a channel which we are starting to establish now, and if I saw a $2 million pipeline or a 200% revenue or a pipeline growth rate quarter over quarter, that's definitely music to our ears, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're doing it at a much lower cost. Yep. So in terms of when you're trying to move an organization from either not having a channel to making it 100% channel, or having some direct and some channel to making it 100% channel, right? Mm-hmm. What are some things that you would recommend people to expect or probably look for along the way?
Great question. So what I've looked for, and I've had quite a few stops over the past 10 years in cybersecurity, running channels and building MSSP programs. And what I look for is, during the interview process, I'm interviewed by all the senior level executives. It's an important role for any company, and they want to know, what my plan is. But I want to know what their plan is. I want to know what their temperature is around channel. I do not really, it's hard to say I'm all in when a senior level executive is like, yeah, I'm not really sure we want to move to 100% channel, or I'm not really sure channel lends any value to us, and that's a warning signal for me. But when you have an executive, a senior level executive like the CEO or the CRO that truly believe in it, and the company I'm with now, they truly believe in channel, that they've been phenomenal, just a tremendous executive team that, understands and appreciates channel. And that's what you want to look for, right? You also want to make sure the sales organization, the reps that are in the field, they're open to it. When a sales rep isn't open to it, it makes your life very difficult. I've always said I've had 2 jobs at every company. I have to sell internally and I have to sell externally. And when you have to sell internally, I find that a lot harder because reps want to hold on to as much money as they can in a deal. When you're giving up 25 points to a deal registration, they start calculating in their head and like, there goes that Maserati I wanted to buy. Mm-hmm. I'll have to wait till next month to get, the second one, right? Mm-hmm. So, those are the things I look for, and I look for also technology is important. Like, you don't want to have to, sell something that's very complicated and difficult that, a channel partner won't understand and won't embrace. I'm very big on education and training and support. And when a technology is like very unique and relevant, it's so easy to talk about it, and the partners get it like that, and they can sell it more, and they start to think in their heads like, where else can I get this, John's product in? So those are the things I look for. Like, it's super important to have the executive, acceptance and backing of what you're doing. And it's also really important to have the sales team embrace what you're doing, because they're the ones that have to go out and, help you make that number for the channel.
Interesting. So I want to sort of double click into both those line items, right? Like, one is the executive sponsorship. The second one is around sales reps. And we have a couple of questions around the sales reps coming from the audience, which we'll pick up in a minute here. Mm-hmm. But in terms of securing executive sponsorship, right? It's not the easiest thing. There's there's a lot of business case, there's a lot of probably pre-existing or preconceived notions, there's bias. So how do you go about securing that executive sponsorship to move an organization into a 100% channel-led organization?
Yeah, and one thing I've known, like, this is an observation, when your CEO is the founder and they're very technical, they typically, sales is important to them, but channel is like less important, right? They don't want to share, and they really don't understand that whole, way of doing business. When a senior executive CEO has like a sales background, they get it, right? So, in terms of trying to convince a senior executive, it's pretty easy. You have to convince them that using channel will help. And I use the conversation with sales executives and reps all the time, like the value of the channel, right? Number one, I've mentioned it before, you exponentially grow your sales force without having to spend a lot of money. Number two, the reps at a channel partner are usually the trusted advisors to the clients and prospects you want to get into, right? So they will listen to that partner when they bring your technology to them, and they will also, help, win the deal for you or lose the deal for you, right? You don't want to mess with a partner if you're trying to get a deal done and do something to, mess up the works, because they will support you, but they will derail you too, right? And the other thing is being able to transact so much faster. So that's something that rings true with any executive, like, how do I get more pipeline, but how do I close more pipeline, right? And the great value of channel, and I use this example when I talk to executives and sales reps, many years ago, I was working at a startup company, very hot technology and cybersecurity, and we were trying to sell to Intel. Mm-hmm. And Intel loved the technology and they wanted to do business with us, but they said, hey, in order to sign an MSA with us, it's going to take 18 months. Mm-hmm. And we're like, ooh, we're a startup. We need this deal. It was $1 million deal, and I'm like, So I said, well, let's go talk to one of my partners. I happen to know a guy who was worked with Intel for years, and let me see what he can do. Ends up, the partner rep was very tight with the CISO who wanted this deal to be closed. We signed an agreement with them. Within 24 hours, they signed our partner agreement. We put the quote through them. They went to Intel, and the deal was signed within 2 weeks, and ended up being like a $1.3 million deal, largest deal the company closed to date, right? So that's kind of the value of a partnership, right? They can help get you over those hurdles. They can expedite deals being closed. And again, that was the trusted advisor to Intel. That CISO, she was very, very, reliant upon what this partner recommended, and she turned to him for advice, right? And we were able to get the thing done. So that's what, that's the convincing you need to, present, or the argument you need to present to the C-level executives when you're talking about 100% channel.
Got it. That's super helpful. So let me go to the next one, which is more when we were talking about the sales reps. And I'm going to weave in some of the questions that are coming from the audience into this, right? Sure. You've decided, you've convinced your executive leadership that, hey, we need to be a 100% channel-led organization. And there is, you're building your business case, you're showcasing all the benefits and the implications from a cost standpoint. How do you go about finding, I think there's a question of how and where do you go about finding or identifying sort of the right set of channel partners who are also willing to partner with you, because, you're sort of in the earlier stage, it's not a massive brand reputation, you're still building it, or you're marching towards that. So how do you go about both finding and attracting them to partner with you? Well,
maybe it's a cheat code, but I've been around in the industry long enough that I know all the partners, and I know all the players at the partners. So it's a reputation thing. Like, they know who I am. I say what I mean. I bring them deals. I respect the relationship, and I help them grow, right? So I'm able to go to those partners and say, I'm at a new place and here's our technology. What do we need to do? And it's the obvious thing is they want 3 deals before you can even sign a paper, contract with them, right? So I get that. I'm always into doing that. The other thing I look for in partners, like cybersecurity has some great resale partners and some great service partners that focus on managed security. I look for partners that have services that I can go and talk to them and say, listen, we don't provide services for our platform. Let's talk to you about providing that service, because then it's another revenue stream for them. Services are a big number at resellers now. And obviously for managed service providers, it's like their whole number. But at the resellers, they all have service numbers. And some of them it's like 60% of their number, right? When you offer to create a service around your product that they can sell, it's music to their ears, because it's 2 paychecks, right? 2 commission checks, and it helps retire a big number for them, right? But the more important thing is it's helping you as a small organization, again, to get further reach. And with services, typically they kind of sell that service for you. You don't get that involved. They just call you up and say, need a quote for 1,000 licenses. We got a hot deal. They want, managed business communication services, and we've whittled it down to you, and let's get this thing done, right? So I look for those 2 things, like people I know that know me, that are only focused on cybersecurity. There are a lot of partners that do cybersecurity and do hardware and all sorts of different products that they sell, and that's great. But for me, knowing like in your space, the partner that really is focused on what you do, what you sell, that's who you want to go after. And the other thing is, I don't try to go after every single partner that's out there. I don't want 500 partners that do nothing with me. I want 5 focused partners that are going to, get trained and certified and go out and sell with us. I want service partners that are willing to, put services around what we do and sell with us, right? But I've learned over the years, like, a lot of channel organizations are motivated by how many partners they sign up. They get a commission check for that. I think that's wrong. I don't comp myself, or I don't build programs where we're comped for signing up partners, because you get garbage and you're getting a commission check for bringing in garbage. I treat this as a sales job. You're getting paid on the sales that close through the channel. That's what you should be motivated. So I don't want 1 million partners. I want very focused partners that can help us grow and do the things that we need to do to get our company's name out there and explode in the marketplace.
Got it. So what I'm hearing from you is, number 1, keep your target list of channel vendors to be narrow and be very focused on that. That's number 1. And number 2 that I'm hearing is, the more value you deliver to the partner through the service innovation or helping them create those services, it's also going to go a long way. And then, of course, the right set of comp models that you're talking about, right? So in terms of, if you're 100% channel-led organization, right, would you then not have a direct sales team at all? Or are you still going to have sales reps? And how would that equation between having a direct sales teams in the world of 100% channel organization, how would that work?
It's a great question. And I guess I'm going to use the example of my last CEO, Anders Narimo. Super smart guy, developed a tremendous platform for third-party risk management, and was smart enough and wise enough to utilize channel only as his sales arm. Like, he would do deals direct, but he really relied on the channel to be a sales force. So, it's tough. I don't think you can be without a direct sales force. I don't think that would work in the long run. When you're real small and yet you're like a 2-man shop or 5-man shop, yeah, you can do that. But I really think it's important you have sales reps, because here's the thing. You have different regions you got to cover. If you're talking to a company in Seattle, but you're in Florida, there's something not connecting there. You don't know their region. You don't know kind of like the the ebb and flow of things in the Seattle marketplace, right? Because you're all the way across the country, right? So I think it's important you have sales reps in each region that know the region, know the clients, know the partners, and can collaborate that way. So I don't think you go without a sales force. I think they're very important. I don't think it's a conversation to say go 100% channel, eliminate all your sales guys. We need them. We need them to help us go in and be there in front of the customer with our partner to sell our products and close the business, right? The channel partners, they can do that, but they're not always focused on one thing. They have, there's 2,200 vendors out there in cybersecurity that are trying to get their attention, and they're selling multiple products to customers. So they can't, if we did that, our deals might be like, 18 to 24 months in sales cycle, but you need your own team to help kind of close that business.
Got it. So when you have sort of your direct sales reps, and then you have your channel, and this ties into the question one of our audience is asking, how do you think about compensation, right? Would you comp your direct sales reps on what a channel retires, or would you not directly comp a direct sales, but when the channel retires, the partner sort of comps as a part of the commission that they get for your direct sales? Like, what is that equation of comping direct sales in the world of a channel org?
Yeah, so that's a kind of a burning question with any channel and sales organization when we're building out, a program like this. Now, I'll just give you a kind of a little side story. I'm in the process of trying to sign up a fairly large cybersecurity partner where I'm at now. And we're down the road, and they love our technology and everything's working in the right direction. And they said, hey, listen, before we go forward, you're going to be grilled by our alliance team and everybody, and they're going to want to know, are you 100% channel? And I laughed. I'm like, well, we're getting there because we're rebuilding our whole sales organization here, and we're getting there. But we're very channel friendly, almost 100% channel right now, and we're getting there, right? But he said, well, that's great. He goes, what about comp neutral? And I said, listen, we're looking at that too. And that's kind of a solution. Comp neutral is like, you're not dinging a sales rep on your side for the margin that they have to give up to bring a deal to a partner, right? The 25 points that the deal reg dictates on our side, you can't comp neutral on that because that's a deal that was brought to us. We had no idea it was coming. It's a lead that we got. But if we have to bring a deal to a partner, we give 10 points for that, right? So that 10 points, you basically only pay the rep on the list price, before the discount. That's comp neutral. I don't think it's sustainable. I'd love for it to be sustainable, but you got to consider your margins as a business. I think it's a plan to put in place for several months while you're rolling out the program, so it gets the reps used to it, and they don't feel like they're losing money and they're it's not going to work and they have a bad attitude. You could do it for a couple months, but luckily for us, we were able to see very quick results. When we brought partners deals, they were bringing us deals back, maybe 2 or 3 at a time. We closed a deal last year with a upcoming pharmaceutical company. We brought a partner in from the beginning. They got services and they got the license deal, and they were happy as hell because it's like over $100,000 deal for them. 2 weeks after that, the rep brought us into 2 of his largest accounts. So in terms of are you losing 10 points on the deal? Yes. But you're going to get 2, 3 deals back from the partner where you're going to make a lot of money because it might be a higher revenue opportunity. And, you weren't having to go out and find it. It was found for you, almost like a bluebird. A deal registration from a partner is high value because, again, trusted advisor, they know the client, they know that they're looking at your product, they want to look at your product. So close rates are a little bit higher on those. So you make up for that loss in compensation with all the pipeline that's being filled for you. But if you have to implement a program and you want to make it so it's not as a dramatic, turn for your reps, put a comp neutral plan in place for a couple months and at least ease them into it. But you have to consider the margins will, you can't sustain that forever.
Got it. So that sort of brings into the question, and again, this is also driven by audience. I'm loving the audience questions this time. where your sales reps are sort of collaborating with your channel partners in closing the deals. They might be losing some dollars if they look at it on a deal by deal basis because of commissioning, discounting that a channel partner would entail, but they're not working as hard as they would if the channel didn't exist, because the pipeline is being built by the channel right now, and they are focused more on collaborating with the channel.
Right.
In that case, are sales reps starting to play more of a quasi role of becoming a channel partner manager of sorts, instead of being like true sales reps?
Yes and no. Look, where I'm at now, I'm a one-man band. We're expanding. We're a startup, right? So our reps, I work with them on a daily basis, coaching them and kind of giving them tips how to get better mind share from partners. And they do become partner managers. They are talking with them, but they build these relationships. And with any channel program, when you have channel partners involved, the direct reps build these relationships. They become friends and they call each other up and talk about opportunities. And they are channel managers, but they're not doing the things that need to be done from a channel organization standpoint, like enablement and support, managing the partner portal, managing deal registration. They're just really having a relationship with that channel partner rep. So yes, they are in a way a partner manager, but they don't go that extra step in doing what someone like me would have to do, right? All the minutia. And I try to tell reps, I'm like, don't get caught up in having to sign a contract with them or training them or doing anything. That's my job. I just want you to go out and build a relationship, and I want you to sell with them. And that's really what the reps in any company that I've been with have done. They don't act as partner managers, only in relationship.
So that, when you're talking about that, a question sort of that popped my mind, which is around, obviously, as you grow a channel organization, there are more and more number of channel partners. There's collaboration between your direct sales reps and the partners, and you are sort of the one who is sort of, for lack of better words, managing the whole go-to-market motion, right?
Yep.
And it's obviously not easy. You're not just managing, but you're also strategizing, and you're also trying to accelerate that revenue acquisition or customer acquisition, right? How do you go about doing this, right? Obviously, you've been a long-standing customer of Pronto. So how do you go about doing this, and what are some of the key tenets that you look at?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because, going back to the original point I made early in the webinar, there's so much expansion. There's so many companies out there that want to be a part of the channel or use the channel, but they're not actually putting the right tools in place to make that relationship, connected, right? And I think the most important tool that I have is my partner portal. And in my opinion, it's the lifeblood of the relationship. And I hear some of my colleagues say that their CEO or their CRO doesn't want them to get a PRM solution. They want them to use email and spreadsheets. And you know what? That's a recipe for disaster, because an email, somebody might miss it, and a partner might deal reg it in an email and somebody misses it. And then another partner comes in and wants to deal reg it, and you give it to that partner, but the original partner is like, hey, I was here first, and you could go back and track the email. But I think a partner portal gives you that one, site of truth. It's a way for you to communicate. My partner portal, the most important thing is deal registration capabilities, and being able to track those deals through the sales cycle, providing documentation. Everything that's important for you to have your partner sell you should be in that partner portal. I got tired after, doing this for a couple of years of having partners ask me for, can you send me a data sheet? Can you send me a white paper? What do you have in terms of video, product videos? So everything I need the partner to know about us is in the partner portal, so they can go right there and they don't have to ask all the time, right? Being able to do account mapping, that is like going to the dentist when it comes to, channel and, vendor relationships, right? Pronto, for, to give a little commercial, you have the ability to do what they call insights, which is account mapping right in the portal. I've already uncovered with my new sales team 6 high level or high dollar opportunities through insights with one of our partners. So it makes your job easier. Like, the partner portal is vital to the relationship. It's the bridge between you and the channel partner. It's a way to get visibility and understand how things are moving. Marketing campaigns, communication, deal registration. It's very important. And I don't understand when executives resist that as a function of the job, because it is critically important for everyone. I remember when I was at a company, the first day on the job, I was talking to a rep and I said, "Hey, how do you guys do deal reg?" And he thought about it for a minute. He goes, "Verbal." And I said, "Oh, that's not going to work." There's no such thing as a verbal deal reg, because it's like, who knows? That your channel conflict is, you're asking for channel conflict with that. But with the partner portal, you see it, and you can stick a flag in the ground and understand that partner brought it in on this date and they own it, and we're gonna ride with them. So yes, that's the most important aspect and tool that I have as a channel executive.
And again, the capabilities that organizations would look at, right? Number one, I love hearing any customer anecdotes, especially of success using Pronto. So thank you for that. But when you think about capabilities, right? Pronto as a company and as a product, we continue to mature. I will always say, like, the defining moment is not here yet, and we've just started the journey. But an organization which is early stage versus probably a little bit mature and sort of playing more in the mid-market versus, very large enterprise, the capabilities that you would look at from technology and tools perspective could be very different because of the maturity of your channel organization, right? So at the stage that you are in, which I would probably say is probably between the early to mid stage, or probably much more maturity in the early stage, capabilities are important to be in a tool or a technology that helps you run 100% channel sales organization.
Yeah, just talking about this topic made me think about, like, there's so many great tools out there that are focusing on channel these days, not just PRM, but there's a tool called Superglue, which helps you kind of with enablement and keeping your face in front of a partner, right? And it's just tremendous, technology. But I think it's just, you've got to have the right plan in place to utilize these tools, right? It's not something you do half ass, excuse my French, but you don't want to go into it halfway and say, I hope it works. You got to put the effort in. You've got to work. You've got to preach. But as a mid startup, we also have to be smart about the money we spend. And utilize our dollars as best as we can, so you can help yourself, provide the best program possible to grow revenue. I don't have a lot of tools that I utilize right now. I try to do it with, the technology that I have. I happen to be lucky. I have a tremendous marketing team. They are absolutely phenomenal. They know sales, they know security, they know channel. They help me tremendously. But in terms of the technology that I utilize, it's really important that I utilize the best that can help me, create the right revenue for the company.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you talked about your tremendous marketing team, because there's a question from the audience that I would love to plug in here, which is, the audience see a lot of partner marketing positions out from Safeguard Cyber. And the question is sort of around, does your company do partner marketing, which is sort of a little opposite of having, let's say, good set of 5-10 partners? Like, what's the function of partner marketing, and why would you want to have a relatively larger partner marketing organization in 100% channel sales led organization?
So I've been lucky enough to have a partner marketing person at one company, and then from all the other ones, I've dealt with marketing, and they've either helped me or not. And I was at a company where our VP of marketing wouldn't even talk to me, and I had to do everything on my own, and wouldn't even talk to our sales people. He just didn't believe in it. So now I'm at a position where our marketing gets what I'm doing. I don't have a partner marketing person, but they get partner marketing, and they're helping me, and they want and understand that it's important what I'm doing for the overall, growth of the company. So, is partner marketing important? Yes, I think it is, because number one, just messaging and keeping your message in front of partners is really, really very important. Events, you got to do events with these partners. That's how you really get them to notice you, because those events, they have customers at them, your logo's all over the event, the partner remembers that, it's really important to them. They might have like charity events, or they have focus security events, but you got to do those things, and marketing helps with that. And then I think just overall, having someone that understands how to bring leads in to the channel. We might want to look at service providers, and I can't be everywhere and know everyone. I need marketing to help me kind of with some sort of a lead gen machine to get those types of partners, right? So I really believe in partner marketing. I was so lucky at one company. I loved having a partner marketing person, because they did a lot for me. They put together a welcome kit for partners and all sorts of materials, presentations, and I can't do that. I'm not a marketing guy.
Yeah. So it feels like, based on what you had said, the partner marketing function that you think is good or is ideal for the stage that you are in, it's got flavors of marketing to recruit the right set of partners for cyber, and it's also got the flavor of sort of activating the partners at different junctures, which includes enablement and maybe training, getting them the sales playbooks, content, and the collateral, right? When you think about that, and you have to measure sort of the core KPIs, right? Both in the world of partner marketing and just in general associated with channel orgs, right? What are the KPIs that you would think about, whether it be from a partner acquisition, which is onboarding new partners or securing new partners, and also seeing whether the current partners that you have, where is the performance higher versus lower, and where do you need to sort of, tweak the nuts and bolts?
Okay. Yeah, I guess some, KPIs would be around like being able to get the message out, like promote the program, promote the great things that are happening with the program, right? And that, I think, is a way to lure in more leads to the channel, right? Being able to help accommodate, any kind of partner event, be it a webinar or an in-person event, and give the all of the materials that are needed, producing training documentation or white papers or data sheets. Those are all really, really important things. In terms of training, not a marketing function, but they can help with preparing all of the training materials for you to present to the partner. So I can't emphasize enough how important marketing is from a channel and a sales organization standpoint, because they know how to expose you and get eyeballs on what you're doing. You can't do that by yourself without marketing help. It's just, you can't be everywhere and know everything, and I think it's a critical part of a 100% channel sales motion, because that's something you promote. That's something that attracts the partners to come to you and talk to you, right? The rubber hits the road when you bring them a deal and they close, the deal with you, and then they really are believers. But being able to market it and understand you're standing by what you say, your company is behind it, and marketing can help promote that.
Got it. So I know we are getting sort of to the top of the hour here, so I want to make sure like we have some audience questions here and make sure that we want to answer these. And for the audience, if there are any other questions, please feel free to put them in the Q&A section, and hopefully we'll have enough time to pick all the questions. But I think one of the questions that came in was around sort of what are your top 3 challenges that you have come across or you have seen while building a successful sort of the vendor partner relationship?
Yeah, I would say the number one challenge I've had at different stops is the internal sale to our sales teams, right? It's really difficult to roll out a program like 100% channel when the reps don't want to even work with channel partners. I work with reps that are, they won't even talk to a partner. They want everything direct. One thing I didn't mention about 100% channel, we had a steadfast rule that it has to go through a partner no matter what. The only exception was that if a client refused to go through a partner and only wanted us to close the deal direct, we would have to get a letter from the partner or from the client stating that, and we would allow it. In some cases, we would ding the rep, quota relief on those deals, and they were, aware of it. But that was the only exception, right? I guess the other challenge is, when you're a startup, just trying to get mind share from these partners. I mean, it's tough. There's so many things you have to do. You have to be out on the road, going into their offices and, sharing coffee and buying a lunch and, doing the things that have to be done, because they're not going to just call you up and want to work with you. They got to know you. The other thing is really controlling the channel conflicts that you might run into, right? Channel conflicts is always a problem. I think I've had less channel conflict as a 100% channel organization because the rule is whoever deal regs the opportunity, they're the ones we go to close with. There's always cases of 3 quotes being requested from a client, and they go to all the partners, and we'll give deal reg margin to the deal reg partner, and we give like a 10-point margin to the other partners, just so they could get a quote in. But we are going to stay with that partner that deal regged it, and that has eliminated a lot of channel conflict within our organizations because the reps know, don't go against or don't disparage that partner that brought you the deal. Work with them, close the deal. It will benefit you tremendously in the long run.
Got it. So I think we are quickly running out of time, so I'll probably have time for one last question, which is sort of what's sort of the average time that you would give from a deal registration perspective? I think I'll break that into 2 parts, John. You have activated a partner, and your sales team has bought into it, and you need to make sure that the partner is now going to the market and selling and registering and building the pipeline for you. What's an average timeline that it takes? That's number 1. And number 2 is partner has registered a deal. Now there is time period of acceptance where you say that, hey, I accept this as a true deal and I want you to pursue it. So how much time would you give for yourself and also for the partner to both accept and actually close the deal?
Okay. So, just from a timeline to get a partner to, get acquainted with us, understand us, and, be able to deal reg, I would say it's, anywhere from 3 to 6 months just to get that mind share with the partner to get them to that point, right? In terms of a deal reg coming in, my steadfast and hard rule is 90 days for deal reg. After 90 days, they can request an extension for up to 60 days. But I feel like after that time frame, if you haven't closed a deal after 90 days, something's wrong. If you haven't closed it after 150 days, that deal isn't closing. It's probably dead in the water, and it was just a placeholder. So we stick to 90 days. And again, having a partner portal helps me control that. I can send messages on it and remind them that it's coming up on the 90-day window. But that's, to me, is important. You shouldn't have deal reg hanging out there forever, because the deals will go nowhere.
Got it. Cool. So I know we're getting to the top of the hour. There is an obligation on my part to answer a question. So I'll make sure I do this and then wrap it up. There was a question around what are the pros and cons of using an account mapping that is provided in a product like Pronto versus using that of Crossbeam, right? First things first, I think we are big fans of Crossbeam, Reveal, and any other account mapping tools out there. We are not competing with them as Pronto and the account mapping tools. In fact, we are extremely complementary. I always think about it as the maturity of an organization. If you're already using a Crossbeam or a Reveal for account mapping, we are actually building an integration with both the products. So it'll actually help enrich the experience that you would have in Pronto if you're already using a Crossbeam or a Reveal. Now, for whatever reason, if you're not using it and you want a super lightweight account mapping, I think that's where Pronto comes into place. Whereas when you take someone like Crossbeam or a Reveal, they will go extremely deep into account mapping as a capability. So for lack of better words, think of it as if you're using the CRM system, there is the ability to track tasks. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna use Salesforce to track tasks, whereas you would rather continue using an Asana or a Smartsheet or any of the other products out there. So that's how I would probably look at it. So having said that, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you to CSA SaaS Connect for hosting John and me for the webinar. Again, don't forget, it's always a pleasure, John. But again, don't forget to register as a CSA member at cloudsoftwareassociation.com. And thanks to everyone for joining us. This has been an amazing conversation. Look out for an email in the coming days with an on-demand version of this webinar. And if you have any follow-up questions, John and I are happy to chat with you all and can be reached via our emails. I'm going to put my email here in the chat window so you can all see it. So that's just my first name at gopronto.io. John, I'll let you put in yours. Once again, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a super lively, exciting conversation for me personally. So that's about it. We'll call it wraps. Have a great day. And John, thanks much once again. And to the CSA.
Pleasure. Thank you, Sarup. Thank you.
Thank you.